Welcome to Buckets, the NBA betting podcast on the Action Network, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Glad to have you with us. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Sean Little. You can find him on Twitter at Chicago Flow and in the Action Network app. Sean, how you doing?
I'm great, Matt. You already know, man. NBA is in full swing. It's midweek. Let's talk about it.
And joining me as well is Jay Money. You can also follow him on Twitter and in the Action Network app. Jay, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. On a little slide, so I'm not so happy. I'm ready to talk some NBA and trying to get some of my money back.
We're gonna turn this around. We're gonna get this turned around. So yeah, I won the head-to-head with AC and Jay last night. I had Thunder. They had Magic. Good night for me. 3-1 from the podcast slate. So glad to have that. You can follow in the award-winning Action Network app. The best way for you to track your bets. Get up to the second information on where the bets and money are coming in on. Get all sorts of cool information. You're going to get great trends across all of the sports. We've got our system plays in there. If you're a pro subscriber, you can follow all the great trends. We're going to talk about some of those tonight that I like. You can also check out this podcast as well as all our great podcasts, Big Bets on Campus, getting ready for college football playoff season here coming up in the next 2 months. The first rankings out tonight. They'll have breakdowns with Brett McMurphy. You got the Favorites podcast. You got college basketball starting. So Stucky's doing all of his insane stuff that he does during college basketball. Check it out, the award-winning Action Network app. Want to remind you guys that if you're listening to this on a Wednesday, I want to let you know that on League Pass, because if you're listening to this podcast, you have League Pass. We damn well know you have League Pass. Come on. And if you're listening to this podcast and you got League Pass, check out NBA Bet Stream on Cavs Celtics. We're going to talk about that game, but we're going to be doing a full betting podcast version on NBA Bet Stream, a live stream focused on betting. You can find it on League Pass. Just go to your stream options for Cavs Celtics, and I'll be sweating, I'm sure, some live props, probably a Jared Allen double-double that he killed me with on Sunday. I'm going back to the well. Make sure to check that out as well. All right, fellas, no more messing around. Let's get to the best bets for Wednesday. Let's start with Jay. Jay, let's try and get this thing going here. Give me your best bet for the Wednesday slate.
Best bet for Wednesday. We hopping on the Pelicans here, laying the 3 in LA versus the Lakers.
All right, Sean, what's your best bets for Wednesday?
I got a couple. I'm looking at Knicks team total, over 114.5, minus 130 right now in a couple spots. There's going to be a better price, I think, coming up here later on in the night or early in the morning. And then my second game is Celtics Cavs. We were just talking about it. I'm going under 218.5, minus 110.
All right, for me, I am with Jay. We're taking Pels -3. We'll talk about that one as well as what the number is probably going to do. I'm on Atlanta +2.5 plus the money line, a little sprinkle on that for a half unit at +110. I like that for tomorrow's slate at the Knicks. We'll talk about that game a lot, obviously, with Sean's play as well. Got a prop for you, Javonte Green for Chicago over on his points. We'll talk about that one. We're going to hit on a few other games as well because there's some interesting games on the slate. All right, Jay, let's start with you. So Pelicans -3. Look, it's funny. The conversation, some podcasts will talk about like, this is a trap line. Like they're trying to, it's not a trap line. Usually what the trap indicates is that that it comes out to a weird number when they adjust for home court. That's usually where that number winds up in a weird range. The number, or they know what the betting public and the sharps are going to do, so they can't put it at a certain number. This one feels like a layup for sure. Like, no question, Pels -3 feels like a layup. I'm with you on it. What's your take on why this is the right side?
Yeah, well, first off, the Lakers just got their first win of the season. They're mad. They act like they had just won the championship. They were celebrating in the locker room. I mean, throwing Gatorade and water all on the coach. But so you could get a little bit of a letdown spot. But I don't think that the line is short here, right? Last year, the Pelicans beat them 3 straight times. In the first game, they were 2.5-point underdogs. Won that one 123-95. Then the line flipped them at home to -4, as it should. Then they win that one by 8 points, 116-108. And then the line comes back as well, them +2 in LA, and they win that game 114-111. So when they open them as a favorite in this one on the road, the line is actually all over the Pelicans here. I don't think that it's short. It's I think it's there pretty much for a reason. That's a strong number for the Pelicans to be laying 3 here on the road. They're 4-1 against the spread last 5 versus the Lakers as well. And they also beat up on bad teams. The Pelicans are 4-0 against the spread last 4 road games versus teams that with a win percentage of 40% or lower. So they don't look past these games here. This is a winnable game versus the Lakers. They want to stack up as much wins as possible. They got their guys back, basically full squad, everybody except for Ingram in this one. So yeah, I'm riding with the Pelicans. And lastly, up here, Pelicans are the #1 team in rebounding this year so far in the NBA, and the Lakers are sitting at 28th. And also, Anthony Davis is not 100% right now. You see him out there laboring with his back. I have a bad back, guys, so I know it's really tough to play through a bad back, man. If you're not 100%, you're gonna feel it. The guy can barely run up and down the floor. He's one of their most important players. I don't think they have nowhere near enough offense to keep up with the Pelicans in this game. So yeah, give me the Pelicans here -3.
Yeah, I saw Davis up close and personal last week in Denver. Couldn't move. Just couldn't move. Yeah, good game versus the Nuggets on Sunday, and that win still was laboring. We're 5 games in, and this dude's already in this shit. I just don't know how you're expected to get to Christmas. So here's an interesting one. Like, look, Pel's home court is going to be a little bit weak, right? Lakers home court, I wouldn't say the lower bowl is a great crowd, but it's a big atmosphere. Historically, they've been good because that's a dominant franchise. Let's go ahead and do the standard here, 4.5 point flip. This is probably going to move to 3.5. There were already 3.5s in the market as we're recording this on Tuesday night. So let's assume that that's 3.5. Let's do a 4.5 split on this, flip to line scale to Pelicans home. That still only comes out to 8. That feels light. Like, that just feels light for a Lakers team that can't shoot. They had a good shooting night. Mike Prada from The Athletic had a really good point on this, which is even the worst shooting teams in the league are going to have nights where they hit. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. The Nuggets let them get in transition. The Nuggets did not challenge them physically, and those guys walked into shots and got loose. And once they started knocking down shots, a bad shooting team hitting shots, that's going to, obviously change the win probability. Pelicans defense has been dialed in. Another thing is that the Lakers want to play super physical. You know who wants to play super physical? This Pelicans team. Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas, like, all these dudes are super physical. This is probably still accounting for Brandon Ingram, status TBD on this. But I think even with what they've got, I don't think that they're going to be able to keep pace. Like, the Pelicans have shooters. The Pelicans have scorers. They have Trey Murphy. They have Jose Alvarado that can, create steals and wreak havoc. They have Zion and Jonas just beat them up inside. Like, the Pelicans are the more physical team in this matchup. And, my numbers, this checks out on the numbers play too. Look, adjusted power rating on the season, I've got this Pelicans 8, which is high, but that's how bad the Lakers have been. That's how good the Pelicans have been. The Pelicans have been absolutely awesome. When I use regular season numbers, obviously the Lakers are going to be horrible in this small sample. It's way bigger. I can't ignore how much of an edge this shows here with this being less than, we're talking, if the Pelicans have a lead, this is within free throw territory. I feel really good about this. I'm with you on Pels -3. Sean, you got thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to kick it right back to you guys. Then for all of what you said, because I agree with you guys, I love Valanciunas down low. I think he's one of my favorite. I think if he's in a spot where he doesn't get enough touches. If he were to get enough touches, he could put up bigger numbers than he already does. I love him inside. Like you said, Zion wants to get physical. My question to you guys is, since you're looking at this game and you guys are pretty aligned, why is the number 3 then? What is it? Just because the public wants to back the Lakers every time they get a chance? So the books don't want to make it too big. Why is it 3, you think?
Well, only thing I would say, they were dogs both times last year in LA. So the fact that they're favored here is good for the Pelicans here. I don't think that it's short, right? If the Pelicans were +1 in this game, that's when you start scratching your head. But the fact that they're a favorite here on the road when they were dog both times last year, I feel like it's a good line for them as well. And if AD is ruled out, obviously the line could get even worse. And the Pelicans don't have Ingram as well. So if they had Ingram, this line would be up to 5. He's not even with the team right now, so he won't play until the next game for Golden State. So I think Pelicans -3 is actually a strong line here.
Yeah,
I'll say this. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt. No, go ahead.
I'll say this. if you want to wait, I don't blame you. You're probably going to see this number creep up to 4.5. I'm okay with that. I don't know if Jay is. Like, you always want to get the best of the number. If you want to wait, it's Zion, right? Like, you just want to be sure. I don't want this if Zion Williamson is not playing without Ingram. I don't want it then. I'm willing to go ahead and bet it because I want the best of the number, and I bet enough to where, like, I'm willing to go ahead and take that. And honestly, like, I lucked out with a game where those two were out and they won anyway. So I think stars being out sometimes boosts the team's morale. This Pelicans team's got good chemistry. They're locked in. They've got, I think this is a coaching advantage here for with them with Willie Green, even though I think Darvin's been good. I can't get, this is the thing, Sean, is like the only reason not to take it is it seems too easy. And I'm just not in a place where if I've got a number that tells me I've got an edge, I'm not going to ignore that just because it seems too easy.
For sure. Yeah, no, you should never get scared off a number. If you do your homework and you like the spot, go ahead and fire right away. I agree.
All right, let's talk about yours, Sean. So let's start with this Knicks Hawks game. So we both got to play on it. All right, so tell me how you arrived at Knicks team total over 114.5.
Yeah, Knicks team total over 114.5. Right now, I think the number's flat out too low. The Knicks are a better squad right now. They've proven that at home. They haven't played the toughest competition, but they get down at home. They're averaging 126 points a game. They're shooting it really well from the floor. And then you get the guys that shine in the Garden are the bench guys, Emmanuel Quickly. And then he's not a bench guy, but my guy, Evan Fournier, plays historically a lot better at the Garden in his first year with the Knicks last year. There's just so many factors for me that lean Knicks are a better overall squad. They're just more balanced, more well-rounded. Knicks bench versus the Hawks bench. The Knicks are scoring 44.5 points per game via their bench. The Hawks are only scoring 31 points per game. I was also very impressed with how the Knicks looked in the first three quarters against one of the best defensive basketball teams in the Cleveland Cavaliers. They put up 93 points through three quarters. That was something I was not expecting. Then they did fold up in the fourth quarter, but I was encouraged with how they looked against a really, 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 really good defensive team in the Cavs those first three quarters. Another key point here, the Knicks, Jay was just talking about rebounding. The Knicks are one of the best rebounding teams in the league, and it's the flip side on the Hawks. They're going to have a lot of opportunities, the Knicks are, to get second chance points, second chance possessions, and opportunities. Last game, Hardenstein and Mitchell Robinson had 11 combined offensive rebounds. It's everything that I'm looking at, and from using my eyes and watching the Knicks on a day-to-day here in New York, they're very locked in. The chemistry thing that you just laid out with the Pelicans is also a factor now with Brunson running the show for the Knicks. Overall, Hawks defensive rating 25th in the league. This is also going to be the Hawks' fifth straight road game. They're closing out a road trip, fourth road game in 6 nights. I just like this. I wanted to take, my initial read was to take the Knicks on the money line or even look at the spread at -1.5 or -2. I think this is going to be a competitive game. We all know how Trae Young gets down in the Garden, is going to want to put on a show. He's right now to lead the game in scoring at -150. I thought that was an interesting play as well. But I landed at the Knicks team total. I think this is going to be a competitive game. It's going to come down the stretch. Overall, on offense, the Knicks have looked very good. They're very balanced across the board. 3 guys that can put up 25-plus points. I think it goes over 114.5, and it's a competitive game versus the Hawks. I laid off. I think it can go either way on the game. I think the Knicks will be able to score points on the Hawks defense. That's why I took over 114.5.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Look, I've got them projected at 119.6. So I've got them right. I've got them over by a healthy margin. My number on this game is way high because a lot of the numbers are going to be high because we've seen so many scoring nights. Like I've got this number at 230 and higher. So I like the over. I like the team total over. I think is strong here. Going with the home team. Knicks offense has been pretty good and consistent. That Hawks defense is still really a mess most nights. Like it's just, I've kind of sworn off Atlanta as a favorite at home for that exact reason, is I can't trust them. I'll say I'm on Hawks plus 2.5 here and on the Hawks on the money line, in part because of kind of what you said. Like this actually grades out as a very close contest.
Yeah.
Neutral court, I've got this even. Now you got to give the Knicks home court, right? Good crowd, MSG, big deal. Yep. I think it's mitigated a little bit. Here, I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. I think the Knicks home court is mitigated a certain degree when you're facing a team that has superstars, because Trae Young has had this game circled. Like him in particular, He's going to want to put on a show. Every player wants to put on a show in two arenas, in Los Angeles versus the Lakers and in Madison Square Garden. And so that I think that mitigates some of the home court a little bit here. I have this really even power rating, even with the Knicks upgrades and a little bit of a downgrade for the Hawks after the Raptors loss. I still have this as Hawks should be favored. So I'm playing it based off of the number and the spot here. I like taking the Knicks as dogs. I think they can hang in games, and I think they can win. Like I actually like playing the Knicks on the money line in a lot of these spots. But they're kind of that team I want to go the other way with, like at home. This is a team that they've had a little bit of a mini rivalry with based off of the playoff series. Trey's going to get up for this game. The Knicks defense has been pretty good. What's interesting really here, and this kind of plays into the over here, Sean, both bench units, I think, have legit scores. The Hawks got absolutely annihilated in that category versus Toronto, but that's because Toronto plays their starters like 85 minutes a night. If we look at the structure of the game, there's a good chance that we get like Obi. I'm probably gonna be on Obi Toppin prop when those come out. I played those before, and his rebounds, assists hit. He's really good. Like Obi Toppin's good, and all these types of things. So when you factor all of this in, plus they're going to play Evan Fournier again. They're just not going to get off of Fournier. His numbers are bad. That's an area where they can take advantage of. I like the Hawks in a high motivation spot. Jay, you always like these motivation spots. What do you think about Hawks on the money line here as a possible underdog?
Yeah, you guys both make some really good points from a matchup perspective. Personally, Brunson's a really good baller, but I do think defensively, him and Fournier, Trae Young and Murray going up against those two, it's an absolute mismatch. But you look at the bench, like Sean said, it's an absolute mismatch for the Knicks bench here. So it's like if I'm looking at props in this game, Hardenstein rebounds, he should eat off the bench quickly. Even Reddish might have a little something versus one of his old squad or whatever. But Derrick Rose, Reddish, and quickly, I feel like they could get whatever they want over the bench. Aaron Holiday is just too small of a player. You can get whatever, post him up against anybody, and it's going to be basically 2 points over there. I'd like to take the Knicks in this game. Both teams coming off a little losing streak. Obviously, the Hawks gave up 139 to the Raptors. What are we doing here, man? They just didn't play any defense, but it's not necessarily a buy-on spot for the Hawks for me. Last game of a 5-game road trip, 5-game in 8 days, 4th and 6. I can't back the Hawks here, so it will be Knicks or nothing for me. I do see it being a toss-up type of game, though, but the Knicks have played very well at the house, 3-0 so far. Would like to lean towards the Knicks. I do think they have the better overall team, especially right now. I think when the Hawks get Bogdanovich back, they can bolster up their bench. Still think they need to get maybe one more player off the bench, but I still don't think that the Hawks are totally put together, and this is a ton of travel. Also a team that's coming off a Dubai trip in the offseason as well, like a few days before the season. So it's Knicks or nothing here for me. It's definitely, I feel like they have the rest advantage.
Yeah, and just like you laid out, Matt, Hawks, when they're not playing the Pistons, Rockets, or Magic, they're giving up 129.3 a game. They just gave up 139 to the Raptors for a team that you wouldn't call you wouldn't call the Raptors an offensive juggernaut by any stretch. So
Van Fleet was out too, man. You gave all right. Come on, man. What are we doing?
This is the Hawks, man. This is what's so frustrating about him is like if they would just buckle down and play some defense, they'd be fine. Right. I'm already regretting this play. But we'll see if I can go back-to-back nights, take it on the fellas head-to-head. All right, let's get to your other play, Sean. So I'm really curious about this one. I got to talk about this one because I need some therapy on a loss this week. Cavs Celtics under 218.5. Give me the cap.
Yeah, -110. This is more of a feel spot for me just from watching the last game on Friday. Everyone went ballistic in that last matchup. We had Mitchell who had 41, LeVert had 41, Tatum had 32, and Brown had 32. And if you've been watching the Cavs like I've been, because I love their roster, I love what they got cooking up in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell has been going absolutely crazy without Garland on the floor. 30 a night, doing whatever he wants, just here, score the basketball, Donovan, and he is doing just that. Boston and the rest of that squad is going to do everything in their power to slow up Donovan Mitchell. That's how I see it. There's just no way that they're going to let him continue to go crazy like he did on Friday night. I know the game is in Cleveland. I'm going to get to that in a second. But as long as LeVert doesn't score, LeVert is trick or treat, just like a couple. Happy Halloween to everybody out there. Hope everybody had a good time. But that's Karis LeVert when it comes to the offensive end. 41 one night, then next thing you know, he might disappear on you. So I don't plan on him going back to back in a huge spot like this. Cavs giving up 102.3 points per game at home. That's the best in the league. Cavs, you already know, long, athletic, one of my favorite teams on the defensive end, if not the best team in the NBA on defense when you outside of Milwaukee, probably. So third in overall and overall defensive ranking. This is going to be a grinder game. I think this gets slowed up quite a bit. The game on Friday went to overtime. I just don't see that happening. I'm going to go under 218.5.
You don't have to talk to me about trick or treat with Karis LeVert, because on Sunday I had over on 2.5 3-pointers made for him. The Cavaliers scored 121 points, and he didn't hit a single fucking three. So,
feast or famine with Karis.
I know how that goes with Karis. I learned my lesson there. I can't tell you here just because the number I've got is going to be astronomical, and that's entirely based off of the regular season numbers with the Celtics. Their defense has been bad. Their offense has been outrageously good. So my projection here is way out of whack. Now, I played that angle this weekend and lost on the Wizards, right? They hold the Wizards like 94. Mm-hmm. Washington's going to be inconsistent. Like when their offense falls apart, it's going to completely fall apart. The Cavs are a different animal. What's interesting here is like most of what Donovan Mitchell's doing, he's killing it in pick and roll. He's 97th percentile in individual creation and pick and roll. He's been absolutely elite at that. When I watch the tape, he really has been better. And like he's at a career high for assists. He's also, I will note this.
7 a game. He's going crazy.
Mm-hmm. So my temptation there was to look at the fact that Dean Wade's shooting 65% from three and go, that's probably got something to do with it. Like they're shooting the lights out. And so is it really Donovan looking to play make, or is it just dudes hitting shots? But then I looked this up. Mitchell's averaging 12 potential assists per game versus 10 last season with the Jazz. So even with Rudy Gobert and all those dudes, Donovan really has reinvested himself in terms of looking to get others involved. And that's a really positive sign if you're a Cavs fan.
I think one key point here is if Garland comes back. Obviously, the line will get higher as well for the Cavs. But one thing I really start to notice, and one thing is as well with Donovan Mitchell, he's really caught wind without Garland out there because it's his team right now. He's not really fighting for minutes or who's going to have the ball, who's going to pick and roll. That's why I feel like it's like two of those three can still do it, LeVert or Mitchell or Garland. But when it's all three of them out there, or like say LeVert has to come off the bench, he's not necessarily in the same rhythm. If Garland and Mitchell out there, it's a little bit of a spacing issue right now, right? So I just feel like they've kind of gotten a win, got into a groove without Garland out there. That he comes back and maybe at least for one thing, maybe mess things up a little bit. Another key thing as well, the Cavs didn't have the Celtics didn't have Grant Williams in that last matchup, so somewhat like a little hybrid big off the bench. He wasn't out there, so there was both of the Williams were out in the first game. Now at least they get one of them back to help at least a little bit. Mobley and Allen still have a huge size advantage, but I know the Celtics, they like getting some revenge, my guys. So it's crazy to say, but I actually would lean to the Celtics here, but it would be mainly the star player theory coming back in there, Garland, and kind of messing up that flow that the Cavs had just got used to running. So somewhat of a contrarian type of play. You wait for Garland to get ruled in, which I think he will play, and then you hop on the Celtics in that one.
I like that. That's an interesting point about Garland messing up the chemistry. I got to think on that one. Let's talk about Washington, Philly real quick. So, Jay, you kind of like the Wizards in this spot. Joel Embiid missed the last couple of games with illness. Doc Rivers comes out on Sunday and says, look, Joel's going to be questionable every single game, which I'll just keep saying this. If you don't want the gambling money, that's fine. But you want the gambling money. Right. If you want the money, there's going to have to be a little bit of stabilization in the injury reports. Yeah. I don't care if Joel plays. Just make the decision. And It's fine. It's fine if on, the morning of, you're like, he's still feeling pretty crappy. He might feel better later, but let's just go ahead and lock him out. Fine. Be cautious. But then don't be like, oh, nope, he's feeling better. He's going to go on, get in here and play. So Sixers -8 at home. Jay, do you think this line thinks that Joel is going to play or not going to play?
I mean, I guess that's a bet in itself right there. I don't think that it's fair that he didn't play versus Toronto, and then he's good to play versus the Bulls, and then when a tweet says that he owns them, and then you're out the next game again. But yeah, it does seem like the Sixers are playing a lot faster. They're able to get out in the fast break as well. It seems like they're just playing better as a whole without Joel Embiid. Seems kind of crazy, but we don't think that he's in shape right now. It's somewhat slowing down the team. Harder to know if he wants to give the ball to Embiid, if they're gonna play out the post, if it's gonna be in Harden's hand, was it going to be Maxey? So I feel like again, it's one of those without Embiid, they're playing a little bit more with more continuity. With him in there, storing everything off. I want to wait for Embiid to come in. This line go up to maybe 9.5, and then I want to hop on the Wizards in this game. So watch out, follow me guys on Action Network app, and I'll add this one as soon as I bet it. But yeah, it's Embiid in. We're gonna wait for that line to go up. Everybody take the Sixers, and then we're gonna hop on the Wizards there plus the points. May not get the win outright, but I definitely think they can keep the game a little bit tighter than they did the other day when they lost by 7 at the house to the Sixers without Embiid.
The key is Maxey, man. If Maxey's going to continue to shoot 50+% from three and run up and down like a guy that doesn't get tired, possession after possession, quarter after quarter, game after game, they're going to be extremely tough to beat. And this is the one thing mentally you got to keep in mind when you're talking about James Harden. When James has a feeling that if he shares it, they can't get a bucket, that's when he goes into dribble, pound mode. I'm going to put up anything. When he sees a guy like Maxey playing like he's playing, here you go, bro. Here you go, Max. Go do your thing. Here you go. Here you go. I'm going to try to give you as many looks as I possibly can, and that's what he's been doing, and Maxey's been going crazy. James had 17 dimes the other night. That's what you got to think about when you're looking at betting on, because I'm not saying I can predict what James is going to do, but if you're looking at the people around him and they're playing well on the offensive end, James has no problem giving it up. He doesn't want to give it up when he thinks he's giving it up and it's not going to be a bucket.
It's a good point.
I need your advice. So I'm looking for one more dog. Dog's been barking this season. Moneyline has been hitting at a preposterous rate so far on the dogs, and it makes sense. The power ratings are all over the place. These teams aren't gelling. Like, we're seeing that all over the place. Clippers are struggling. Heat are struggling. Warriors are struggling. A lot of these spots providing an opportunity. I got 2 spots to compare for you guys, okay? Sacramento Kings, they're streaking. It's 2 wins, but they're technically on a winning streak. Plus 240 at the Heat. Think there's a good chance of some of those Miami guys will go ahead and take the night off. This is an old team. They got a solid win versus the Warriors on Tuesday night. This looks like a prime spot to go ahead and take a little nappy nap and rest. I like the Kings to be able to push the pace in that game. The other one is Utah. Now, Utah is plus 5.5 at the Mavericks. Money line's plus 198. Utah has had like sickness going through the club, but they should be back to somewhat close to full health for this contest. Mavericks coming off of pretty embarrassing loss, so this is a spot for them. I will say this, in the Jason Kidd era, so since last season, the Mavericks as a home favorite, 23-13-2 against the spread. They've been absolutely tremendous in that spot. Obviously, they got the big win versus the Grizzlies, but they did lose to the Thunder, and they get a push versus the Mavericks, or versus the Magic, rather. So, Jay, between the Kings and the Jazz, which money line do you like better?
I would probably have to go with the Jazz. Obviously, they've been playing a lot better basketball. And when you add in the fact that they have playoff revenge as well, my Mavs put them out last year. I made so much money off of that series, man. I wish we could replay it again, to be honest with you. I knew that Mitchell and Gobert had some inner turmoil, but obviously they're not there anymore. But you at least still get guys like Conley and let's see what Rudy Gay. It's a few more players.
Markkanen. Gotta give it up for Lauri Markkanen.
I'm saying that was on the team.
Player.
I'm saying that was on the team. Yeah, I'm just saying the guys that have revenge. I know Conley, Clarkson, and Gay were still on the team, but regardless, Markkanen has been balling. He's been playing. I couldn't see in a million years this team playing this well, coming out 6-2. I mean, 4 new starters, 6 new rotation players, brand new head coach, and they're out there balling. So it's tough for me to bet against the Jazz. It's tough for me to bet against them right now, but I would definitely have to go with them over the Kings, just especially with them having 2 starters banged up, and they're over there on the East Coast. 3rd game on the East Coast as well. So we definitely have to look towards the Jazz, especially I think the playoff revenge would be the tipper, man.
Okay. Sean, what do you
Matt,
think?
what about I was just gonna say, what about the Rockets plus 172?
Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Sean, I can't do this again. I've done it twice. I cannot bet Rockets money line again. It hurts.
At FanDuel plus 172. The line is right now +5. It was +6 few hours ago. It's already on the move down. If you I watched the fourth quarter of that Clippers Rockets game. And if Paul George just goes unconscious, that's basically what happened. If he doesn't go unconscious, they lose that game maybe by double digits. That's how bad the Clippers looked. Reggie Jackson looks like he just doesn't want to play ball anymore. He looks terrible. So there's a lot of question marks going on with the Clippers. Now, it all depends on how you feel the mentality of the Houston Rockets are, right? Is it one of those things where now they feel like they compete and now they're getting them at home? They're going back to Houston now. Or is it like, we almost had them, and then, the Clippers get their shit together and then come back in Houston and blow their doors off by a dozen? That's the most interesting money line spot because they just played. Houston played them tough. Now they get them again at home. Numbers going down, plus 172. There's still a lot of value on the money line there for Houston.
Sean, I bet them versus the Suns, and they had a second half lead, and they lost by 15. I bet them versus the Clippers plus 350.
I saw it.
And they had it. And Paul George ripped their. I can't do it. I can't do it. But that's
short memory, Matt.
I was going to say, Matt doesn't want to talk about their game, and I don't blame him, man. But I just want to say one thing: they come back. I don't like taking teams first game back home after a little road trip, 4 games or more. They come back home for one home game, and then they get hit back out on the road for 4 more games. So somewhat of like another road game. It's a tough little spot for the Rockets here. And if you're the Clippers and you're Paul George, you got to look like, all right, we got to stop losing to these little bad teams. So I think
that's kind of where you got to decide.
Like the Rockets there, if I like the Rockets, I'll go ahead and take the points. I don't know about it. Could be another close game, but I don't think they'll get the upset. I think Clippers at some point will try to start turning it on.
If y'all see me log a round robin with the Kings, the Rockets, and the Jazz, I want to be held accountable on this podcast next week. Please hold me accountable on this edition of the pod next week. All right, it's gonna wrap it up for Buckets. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. We made the Apple charts. We are on Spotify. We're killing it. That's entirely, I think, thanks to our new contributors that have brought so much great stuff, and Brandon bringing it on Friday with the futures with us. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Buckets, giving you the best bets for Thursday. Good luck with all your bets tonight. For Jay Money and Sean Little, my name's Matt Moore. We'll see you guys again next time. Let's get buckets.